Time for another board game review, and this time we have the game Decrypto. This is the 5th anniversary edition. This was sent to me by Scorpion Masque, and is designed by Thomas Degenet L'Esperance. L'Esperance? Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Communicate safely. Join the greatest encryptor team in the world. Your mission, transmit secret codes to your teammates without letting the opposing team intercept them. Let me show you how to play. So in Decrypto, you are trying to intercept the other team's code while also giving codes that aren't too obvious for your own team. So each team gets one of these screens. Now normally they wouldn't be side to side by like this because you can't see the other players or other team's screens. So normally they'd be more like this, so that one side can see one screen, the other side can see one screen. But just for visual aid, I'm just showing you what they look like this way. Each team will get 4 keyword cards, and these can be slotted in to reveal the words. So this one is grenade, grasshopper, smuggling, and recycling. Now, each round you will pick someone to be your encryptor. That person is going to draw one of these code cards. So this one says 314. What that means is you have to come up with clues that'll get your team. This keeps coming off. Maybe something where I wish the components were a little less cardboardy, but I mean, I get it, whatever, it's a great game. So they would have to come up with a code to get you to say 314, smuggling, grenade, recycling, in that order. And the other team, their encryptor would draw a card, and they need to get their team to do 4, 3, 2. You will then write your clues on your team's code sheet. So let's say for smuggling, grenade, recycling, maybe this isn't the best clues, but something like this. Maybe I come up with sneaky, hand, paper. The reason why I don't want these to be outright obvious is because the other team is going to try to eventually intercept my codes. So I picked sneaky because smuggling is, kind of a sneaky vibe, hand for grenade, and paper for recycling. Hopefully, when I write these 3, my team will be able to correctly identify that I'm trying to get them to say 314. And then for the other side, I could say cheese, moving, and secure. Something like that. Once both teams have written down their clues, then the first team, white team, will read their 3 clues out loud. So they wrote sneaky, hand, and paper. And they give their teammates the note sheet. The black team will take their sheet and they will write those clues down as well on the white side, because it's important to keep track of what the other team has given as clues. You'll see why in a second. Both teams will then try to figure out the code. Now, in the first round, black team won't try to intercept this code because they don't have any information. But white team, they deliberate and they go, okay, we're pretty sure it's 314. So they write their guesses, and then when they are done, the encryptor will reveal their code, and if they were right, then they write down the answers here. If they were wrong, they still write the answers here for reference. Now, in future rounds beyond the first round, before white team even gets to guess their code, the black team actually gets to try to intercept. It'll make more sense in the second round when I show that. So, let's say for round 1, both teams got their codes right. Round 1 isn't where the game gets interesting. Round 2, though, you draw a new code card for each side. And now you have to give new clues to get them to do these numbers. So in this case, 214, huh? Having to come up with these on the spot is tricky. And you switch encryptors each round. So someone always gives clues and a different person each round. Let's say I do peach for 2, or for grasshopper because James and the giant peach, pin for grenade, and blue for recycling because recycling bins. So here is where the game gets interesting, because when white team reads their second round clues, peach, pin, blue, black team is actually going to get a chance to intercept. So based off the information, and they should have been writing this info on their sheet, they know what the clues were for this round, and now they're gonna try to guess, based off these clues and future rounds information, what the code could be. So, let's say they guess, I don't know, if they guess actually the code correctly, they say 214, and then white team will also get a chance to decrypt. They both write down the code that they think is the right code. If black team correctly guessed white team's code, they get an interception token. If you can do this twice, your team wins. Now, the risk is if you make your codes too obtuse, if your own team gets it wrong, let's say white team thought it was, I don't know, 213, you get a miscommunication token. And if you get enough of those, I believe it's 2, then your team loses. So you only score if you guess the other team's code. You don't get any points for guessing your own code. But if you get your own code wrong twice, then you're out. So like before, you would write down your guesses and then the correct answer. And as you can see, as the game goes on, you'll have more and more information about what kind of clues were given for what number. And then you can kind of go, okay, so what's the connection between pin and hand? Or what's the connection between, blue and paper? And as a team, you can kind of try to figure out, okay, I think maybe this is the word for number 4 on their team. So that when they give more and more clues, you have more and more information to try to decipher what the other codes are. And that's pretty much the game. There are some rules for, what, your clues can be. You can't use the same clue more than once. It's got to be like public knowledge. Always refer to the meaning of the keywords. It's all just common sense stuff. Like basically just don't be annoying. Like, it's all pretty straightforward. It also does not have to be a single word. It can actually be a whole sentence. So there's a little more flexibility. But the more information you give, the more that gives to your team. But otherwise, that's pretty much it. You just try to figure out what your other team is, what their code is, and try to make sure yours are right. And that's the game. So I actually already owned Decrypto before they sent me this new one. And it's because I think it's one of the best team games out there. It's just a very clever concept. I always love that sort of mechanic. Okay, one person gives a clue. Other team has to puzzle it over while they sit there silently. And then what makes this distinct from something like Codenames is that extra interesting angle of, okay, I gotta make sure my clues aren't too obvious, but not too obtuse. It really makes you go for these sort of clever, sometimes more out there clues. It's just a really fun game. And it's not only fun trying to come up with clues, but then when you get to be the guessers, figuring out your clues, trying to decipher the other team's clues, every single step of gameplay is very entertaining in this game. I do think the actual teaching of it can be a little confusing to people when they start out. Like the whole, okay, one team reads theirs first, but both teams write them down, and the other team tries to intercept. But if you get your clues wrong twice, you lose. But if you get theirs right, you score twice and you win. But if you score your own, you don't get points. It sounds way more complicated than it actually is. And I've always found that once people actually start playing the game, they pick it up very quickly. It's not a complicated game at all. But I do think the rules are written in a way where it feels a little obtuse. I feel like the only thing I would maybe change in future editions is just simplify the rule book a bit. It's not a complicated game. It's just if the other team guesses it, they get a point. It comes in a rule book like a wall of text, and it's just the wording is a little too confusing because, again, it's not a complicated game. I just don't want that wall of text to scare people off because that would be a shame because this game is great. I think aesthetically also it looks great. I love the little slide-in filter cards. If you like team games and word games, I cannot recommend this highly enough. I think it is a fantastic game.